race fans, Ryan Aho here, the one and only Bert Lehman and Coach Kraus in the house here tonight. How you gentlemen doing here this week?
Doing good.
Man, a few words. You're like the color commentator there on the movie Major League. You're the guy sitting next to Bob Uecker. Hey, thanks for adding in there, Bert.
Bert, I figured
Kraus.
You got a great opportunity right now to let our Pick'em group have it because they think they're good and smart, but they're not. We all know that. And then you bailed on the opportunity, Bert.
What opportunity?
To rip on those guys. They're all talking smack because they're beating us in the Pick'ems and all this and that. And they 19 straight races, they picked Bobby Pierce to win. Well, of course he's going to win.
Well, I was just going to say, when you pick the same driver for every race, I mean, there's not much of a challenge in that.
You freaking guys, Kraus, I'm telling you right now, you're giving me crap about this, right? Now, I looked at last week's. I literally alternated Strickler and Lucas Lee. What did you do? Lucas Lee, all 6 nights, right? I had 2 nights I had Brandon Shepard, 2 nights I had RTJ. I don't know. You're giving me grief. I alternated my picks last week. I'm not sure what you were looking at there, guys.
I took RTJ for 2 and then Davenport for 2, and then you got to take Lucas Lee. I mean, there was nobody down there to begin with, and you knew Lucas Lee was going to win them all. So, and I wasn't taking Strickler. And I'll never. I took him in my race pass fantasy tonight, and I just about broke my phone after I picked him.
Hey, Michael Leach would have been a good guy to pick. He got a flat. We'll talk more about that shortly. Hockey this week. Did you win? Did you lose? Did you get thrown out of games? Your bus break down? Oh, anything exciting?
Listen, we're not talking about hockey this week. I'm not in a good mood about hockey, especially after the debacle. And the 3HL guys, they don't even know what this podcast is, so they're not listening anyway, so I can't get fined. I hope not. I guess you never know. But we had a big time debacle on we got smoked on Friday. We were bad, it happens. And the ref was a debacle on Saturday and won one hockey game, and we're down 5-on-3 again and lose. So we won't talk about it.
Bert, you heard it here first. On the hot seat, head coach, Alexandria Blizzard, right? He's going to be out with KOC. He's just gone. It just is what it is. Episode 211. Let's little shout out here, Impact Health Sharing. So if you're self-employed, if you're a farmer, if you're in real estate, if you're in direct sales, if you pay for your own health insurance, maybe you have some employees, a small business, you cover theirs. And you're looking at it at the end of each month and you're like, good God, what am I doing? I'm paying like out of my ass for this. It's just crazy. Well, I might have an alternative for you. I have a product called Impact Health Sharing, been able to save people literally thousands of dollars. You go to any doctor, no in-network nonsense. Hit me up, 218-969-1380. I can get you a free, no obligation quote, get you the information you need to make a decision. It's been good for a lot of people. Check it out. So, little disclaimer, we like to have a lot of fun, like to talk a little shit, like to stir up some drama. We like to do it all, right? So if you're soft, if you're one of those kind of new generation people, your feelings get hurt really easy, this might not be for you. Now, just don't do anything dumb. We won't pick on you, okay? It just is what it is. But we'll say the good, the bad, the ugly, a little bit of everything. And sponsors, sometimes they agree with what we say, sometimes we don't. These are our opinions. And we have as you can see already, we have a few swear words in the show because it's racing, right? That's what we do. You ever been to the racetrack or in Kraus's shop? That's just how it works. So there's your disclaimer. Breaking news in Wissota, right? We're getting to that point now to where we're starting to get rolling into a lot of schedules dropping, a lot of things happening. The biggest thing that happened this week, though, Coach Kraus, we've been talking about it. Big announcement in Princeton. What happened there?
Yeah, Princeton Speedway is now obviously ran, I believe, by the Wagamans and Nate Fisher and basically the Ogilvy Raceway crew, and 100% full with soda. I know, Ryan, it's something we've been talking about, getting some of these tracks back with soda, and Princeton was a huge Wissota track for a lot of years. Huge down that area on Friday night, a lot of cars that ran there. So that is big news, especially over in that area on a Friday night. They needed a track over there with that. So hopefully, like I said, they got a heck of a Friday, Saturday night right now. So big, huge news. You know it's going to get ran well. You know they're going to do things the right way over there. So super excited to get Princeton back on board on the Wissota map.
Yeah, and the Wegman Group, right? I've known that family for a long time. They used to sponsor me. Between them and all the folks helping at Ogilvy, they're the folks that are going to be running the Princeton Speedway. I'm not sure who's all in charge or who the main guy is. Probably Nate. I'm not positive. But I tell you what, if it's any inclination what goes on in Ogilvy on how successful that place has become, they're going to do a good job here at Princeton. I wouldn't want to be them. I got to be honest with you, right? Running one track is a lot of work, right? A lot of work. Running two tracks, I tell you what, they better have some anger management classes. There's going to be all kinds of stuff. I wish them the best of luck. So we got a few more things here in WISSOTA world. Before we get to that, though, how about a little shout out to one of our newest sponsors here, Hard Charger Performance Specialties. That's Nick Hoff out in Sidney, Montana. And I've known Nick for quite a while. In fact, he used to build engines for me. He built one in the mods. Thing was super smooth. I mean, that thing was really good. And, he's done it all. Over 20 years of building engines. And he does a lot of other stuff too. Gears, I mean, you name it. He does a lot of stuff. Check him out on Facebook. But he's out in Sidney, Montana. And another thing, he's the only dyno. You take a 500-mile radius, guys, of Sidney, Montana. It's the only place where you can schedule dyno time. So get a hold of Nick to get your engine on the dyno. Also, for you crate folks out there, Nick builds engines, right? But he's also the representative, the certified engine, I guess, repairer, is it what would it be called, for the crate engines out in that region. So he can definitely fix your crates if you have an issue. Also, shipping a non-factor. So it doesn't matter where you are in the country. He's got ways that are at a very affordable cost to ship your engine to and from Sidney, Montana to have work. That's Nick Hoff, 406-478-4437. Hard Charger Performance Specialties. Thanks for coming on board there, Nick. We certainly appreciate it. So I got a fan feedback question here from Rick. All right. And it said, all right, this is Rick. All right, you WISSOTA people that get your feelings hurt. I'm reading the question. Okay, this ain't me. All right, it says, I see WISSOTA is now allowing Willys Super Bowl carburetors in both the modified division and in the late models. I also see that Willys wrote a big fat check to WISSOTA for a sponsorship. Is this a slippery slope? Is the only reason that they actually put this rule into place because they got money in their pocket? Your guys' thoughts.
I'll let.
You're muted.
I'm gonna say yes and no, Ryan, to that one, because it is something we did talk about at the meetings. Was that carburetor, and I can't remember where it was going down the road. But it was, well, let me put it this way: they first came out with the concept rule on the modified or in the Midwest mods. Guys showed up with Super Bowl carburetors because the rule said any 4-barrel carburetor. Well, there's multiple guys, including my buddy in the 34. They're going to throw a Super Bowl carb on there. So we did talk about it. On the flip side is I'm looking at it going this way. In order to get more companies and more business involved in WISSOTA, and obviously if it's within the rules, and hey, if they're going to sponsor us and we're going to use their parts, I 100% get it. I think it's just another opportunity for them to get more businesses, more racing companies involved in WISSOTA. Can it be a slippery slope? Yeah, absolutely. People saying, well, why is this? Why is this? Now, when someone else comes in and say, I'm going to sponsor you. How come you're not running my parts? So it could be a slippery slope. So hopefully they're dotting their I's and crossing their T's and making sure they're doing everything correct.
Yeah, and I got to say they got to be real careful here, right? So I did a very limited amount of research on this. I talked to a few different people, and the one thing that I like about it is there's no performance advantage on the dyno, right? So it's not forcing everybody to switch over to the Super Bowl carb and obsoleting what they have. So that's good, right? That's a good thing. Another thing is it's, the people I talked to, they said, it's more user friendly, right? I mean, you're not gonna bend a flows. There's certain issues you're not gonna have by having this carburetor on. It's a little different. It's a closed system, so you got to do things a little bit different. Some people ran them, didn't like them. Some people ran them, did like them. I do like the fact that it's not a performance enhancing thing. However, it's way more expensive, right? I mean, it's literally almost double the cost of their existing carburetors, and it's right around, well, it's over $1,000 to have your existing carb converted to this. So I don't know. Is it necessary? I mean, you start looking at certain things out there, devil's advocate, right? I mean, we all agree that Burt transmission's a far superior transmission to an automatic. Maybe they should allow, I mean, look at some things that make sense to make those rule changes. Maybe that's in the future. I'm not sure. Roller rockers, right? A lot of people, some people are for it, some aren't. Look at that in some of the 2-barrel classes. But I can see how the perception is, well, they wrote a check and now we can run that product. Slippery slope. I'm gonna say this. I did talk to a member of the tech committee, and it sounds like, and I'm pretty happy to report this, that it's a lot more of a cohesive unit. It's not one individual, and it doesn't matter who that individual is. It's not one person saying, hey, we're going to allow this or we're not. It's there's a whole group of people coming together doing some research. So I think they're making a step in the right direction. So Rick, I guess Coach Krause said it best. Yes, slippery slope, but maybe necessary because we're trying to get more marketing partners in WISSOTA. So overall, maybe it'll be a good thing. So Bert, any thoughts on that, on sanctioning bodies changing rules, and then immediately upon that, hey, we got a new sponsor, but we're going to allow product X, right? Without knowing anything about the products, what comes to mind for you when you hear about that?
I mean, I agree with you guys that it is a slippery slope, but I mean, I guess explain it to me a little bit. I mean, this carb doesn't give a driver an advantage over a different carb, does it?
From the limited amount of research that I did, no. On the dyno and stuff, it's supposed to not be a performance enhancing. It's just a smoother deal and more user friendly as far as maintenance goes.
I mean, as long as it doesn't give a driver an advantage by using that product, I don't have a real big issue with it. But I mean, I do agree it's a slippery slope. You know, you get a sponsorship check and then, you know, all of a sudden that product is allowed. But unfortunately, in these times, sometimes you have to do stuff like that to get funds. I mean, you've talked a lot about, you know, WISSOTA going out and seeking sponsorship. And I mean, if they got this sponsorship, I mean, sometimes you have to give a little to get a little.
Yeah, overall, it might be a good thing. I guess the jury's still out. We'll see how that transpires. So one thing that I look at as a positive, my sources tell me that, and I don't know when the last time this happened, but we know that this is the final year. 2024 is the final year of WISSOTA's contract with Hoosier. We know that last year, right, they voted to increase the cost. They stuck with that this year. And in different areas of the country, right, UMP, for example, tires are so out of control price with Hoosier that it's not a sustainable business model. Well, they actually, the current board took it upon themselves to talk to the various different tire manufacturers in dirt track racing. They asked for bids. I don't know the numbers or anything on that, but they didn't just rest on it and say, hey, we're with Hoosier no matter what. No, they went to American Racer. They got a bid from American Racer. They went to Goodyear. They declined because I don't think they build really dirt racing tires except the NASCAR stuff. Bert, Krause, when you hear that WISSOTA as a board is actually going out and seeking, at least getting quotes on different tire manufacturers, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean,
go ahead, Bert.
Go ahead. Well, I think it's a good thing. I mean, you should never just stay true to one company without going out and, you know, at least researching the costs from a different company. And by researching the costs from a different company, you're also keeping your current company honest on what they're charging you, hopefully.
Krause, anything to add?
Yeah, well, my big thing is I think at the end of the day, from what I've heard, they're looking out for the drivers. They want to make sure they give the drivers the best cost, the best price to help us save money. Because like I said, I know if them late model tires, and I've talked to a lot of drivers Obviously now that with my position here at Viking Speedway, there's a lot of drivers out there worried about tire costs. So my big thing is I think WISSOTA is doing the best thing for us, and they want to do what's best for the drivers. Hey, we have to keep our costs down, and then that's what we're going to do. So I'm excited that, hey, they're going out there getting bids, and they're looking out for us drivers.
Yeah, tip of the cap to the board. I mean, from the end of the season, right, around the meeting time till now, this is kind of the most active I've seen an actual WISSOTA board for a long time. So I'm excited for that. And, we're not afraid to dig them when they need it. But the fact is, it looks like they're making some effort. They're trying to move this thing forward. So we're pretty happy to see that. So, guys, let's jump into the top 5 stories of the week, brought to you by our friend Brad Parson Soil and Ag Solutions. So if you're in Western Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, if you're in farming, what are you looking to do? Make more money. How do you do that? Higher yields, right? Have the right stuff in your spray packages. Don't know much about it, but I know that on, let's say, tires, right, the right chemicals give you better results. It is what it is. This is legal, right? You can do this. It's called having the right stuff in your farm spray packages. Well, what is that? I tell you what, call Brad, because he has all the answers. He's done the research. He's got the data. He's got the numbers. Let him, he's part of the racing community, see if he can help you be more successful. His number, 320-219-3542. That's Brad Parsons, Soil and Ag Solutions. All right, guys, number 5, big, sexy Brandon Overton with a homecoming trip to his kind of home turf, kind of where he kind of cut his teeth, down in Screven, Georgia. Did you guys get to watch anything from Screven night 1 or night 2? I watched both features.
I watched the feature on Saturday night 2. And I don't understand it, but those tracks and those fans down in the South, they love that hard black, follow the leader, 1-lane track for some reason. And Overton did use the high side a little bit in 1 and 2 to get to the front, but it was a stay down low, don't get out of line, and type of a race. And another interesting thing, Scott Bloomquist was doing some announcing, so that was kind of cool.
Yeah, him and Dwayne Keith up in the booth. And if you've never heard Dwayne Keith, he's kind of got that WWE vibe. He's got that little different tone of voice. He's pretty fun. And then, of course, my buddy Changa, his favorite driver, just kidding, of all time, Scott Bloomquist. He's a Moyer guy, just kidding. But having him in the booth, all them years of experience, that's kind of a fun deal. Garrett Smith gave that one away, right? It was literally rubber, Bert, in 3 and 4. On the green flag, right? Everybody, and they said that 1 and 2 you can move around, but they got Overton got to him. They got into lap traffic, and he kind of slid up to the top. He tried to maybe make something happen around the outside of 3 and 4, and Overton went by him, never looked back. And quite honestly, Garrett Smith stuck with him. He was right there. In fact, he won night 1 down there. Garrett Smith did, but he might have had the faster car there on night number 2. But the faster car does not always win. Big win there at home for Brandon Overton. Number 4, let's go down to East Bay, the final Winter Nationals. Sun River, Montana driver Michael Leach doubles up at the Bay. Guys, anytime we have a WISSOTA driver, he's also an IMCA driver, head down south, whether it's Arizona, right, or Texas, or wherever it may be, Florida, and they stack a couple wins, that's a big deal. Lucas Lee's no joke. Kyle Strickler, I know Kraus ain't a big fan, but he can be fast. But Michael Leach ran really good down there. He parked it Thursday, I believe it was Thursday and Friday. He parked it in Victory Lane, and he's the son of Paul Leach. Now, who's Paul Leach? He owns Lowenbro, and he owns Longhorn. Okay, so that's kind of the partnership. Steve Arpin is the face of Longhorn, but the money behind that is Lowenbro. That's Paul Leach from Montana. He also had a really good night there on the last night. Had a flat kind of halfway through, came from dead last. He just outside the top 5 with a 6th place finish. And guys, he came over to WISSOTA country this past year, towards the end of the year, over to like Ogilvie and some of our traditional postseason invitationals. he was really good in the late model. I mean, he was impressive. He had a podium finish. Keep an eye on him. He's down in Volusia. Michael Leach is going to be a guy to watch. Did either one of you get to watch either night that Michael Leach parked it in Victory Lane?
I did not.
Yeah, I watched both of them. Just a little tidbit on Screbbin, Ryan, that you forgot to mention. 100 sport compacts checked in. I don't know. So we had a hockey game, and we had it on in my office. Then we watched Screbbin. It was on pretty much all night because they had 64 classes. The Crown Vics, I don't know how many sport compact, but 100, 60-lap race was actually pretty entertaining. But I didn't watch any of it. I checked the results. Ryan, I told you what was going to happen before the races even start. Garrett Smith and Overton were going to duke it out. I did tell you that.
You did.
Cherry picking down there, so we're not going to talk. We don't talk about cherry pickers on the show, but no, the Leach kid looked really good. He looked smooth. He looked fast. He's obviously the whole Longhorn crew's down there helping him out. And I know even before qualifying tonight here at Volusia, he said Arpin came up to me and told me what to do. So that obviously helps. But the kid can wheel and then hop in that mod and do what he's doing. It's fun to watch, and got to watch him a bunch last year, like you said, in the Wissota late mod. He was at the Wissota 100, and so it's kind of cool to see him do well down there in Florida.
Yeah, and sounds like I talked to my buddy Bo Brown. He said his younger brother also is in a B mod. He said he's getting pretty sporty, and I think they own Electric City Speedway is what they own out there in Montana as well. So that's a family right there, very invested into the racing community. Going to be fun to watch him over the 2024 season. Number 3, Bert, did you watch the Lucas Oil? You watched all the Lucas Oil features this weekend, right?
Yes, all the feet. Well, I saw I saw all the heats except for Saturday, and I saw all the features. Yes.
So number 3, the best finish of all 4 nights, right? They had 2 nights at Ocala, 2 nights at Alltech. The best finish was, in your opinion, Bert, what would you say the best finish of the week was down for the Lucas Oil races?
It was the one at, it was the first night, wasn't it? When, Tyler Erb led most of the race and then gave it away over the last couple laps at RTJ. RTJ just has like another gear over the last 10 laps, and he just makes up so much ground for, in those last 10 laps. And, I was kind of pulling for Turbo to win it. In the post-race interview, they said, you haven't been running very well, so you got to feel pretty good about second. And he said, second sucks. So
that's what we like to hear. We don't want somebody going, oh no, I'm happy with second. No, that's not a thing, right? So let's face it. Turbo being fast and relevant is good for dirt late model racing. So it's good to see him get a good run. So Kraus, I got a question for you. Okay. When they also asked him, right, in an interview after the races down in the pits, they said, what went through your mind when you saw the 20 RT? And he's like, I'm fucked, right? When he says that, and quite honestly, he ain't wrong, because RTJ is the fastest late model driver right now, so you're gonna think that. But how much of an advantage is it when you're that fast and literally you're inside of everybody's head so much that when you even show your nose, they're like, oh crap, I guess I'm gonna lose to that guy now.
You're 100% right. It's no different. You watch a scoreboard at Viking Speedway, and I had guys come up to me, the 29's coming up on me, or here comes a 71A. You know what I mean? It happens all the time. I had guys. I was watching Scott Danzizen, and we had the scoreboard, and people would say, well, I saw the 5X get into second place, and you lose your rhythm, you start panicking, and Turbo did that. He was changing lanes too much. He was horrible in lap traffic. He didn't know where to go in lap traffic. And he had a good car, but I tell you what, 20 RTs in everybody's heads right now. Absolutely. I mean, when you got Davenport, he's in Davenport heads. He's in everybody's head. Probably the only one he's not is probably Bobby Pierce and maybe Hudson O'Neill. But other than that, you see that 20 RT get into second place. He 100%. You're going to be thinking twice. You're going to panic. And Turbo, like you said, it'd be different if Turbo had won some races in the past. He knows what to do. He'd be a little bit more relaxed. But it's been a while since he's competed and beat these guys, so he's definitely in their heads.
And here's another thing, right? When you see somebody like RTJ or Bobby Pierce or a couple of these guys that they race everything. Once the season gets rolling, right? They're everywhere. If Lucas ain't racing, they're at the Wool races. I mean, they're everywhere. And it don't matter if it's a big win, a little smaller win. When they're stacking wins over and over, and their competition's looking at my race pass and going, shit, they just won another one. You're automatically, your psyche's like, man, this guy's about unbeatable right now. So there's something to be said for these drivers that are racing as many shows as they can versus some of the drivers that are kind of on a limited schedule. I think when you get in the rhythm, you get hot. You better just stay on the gas. So night number 2, not quite as good. But local down there, Clay Harris, I think he's from Jupiter, Florida down there. He should have won. I mean, he had the best car and he got into lap traffic. He was approaching lap. He wasn't in lap traffic, but it was one lane on the bottom, kind of just trained up, not rubber, just the whole rest of the track was marbles. And it looked like he just went to the outside of 3 and 4 one time, knowing that he's going to get to lap traffic. I might as well give it see what's there. As soon as he did that, bam, he lost the lead. It was Hudson O'Neill got by him, right? And capitalized, and he kind of stayed with them. But Clay Harris, a couple top 5s he's made. Every show down there, that's a guy to keep an eye on maybe this week at East Bay. Any closing thoughts from the races at Ocala?
Yeah, I mean, we got to give a mention to, I'm going to butcher his last name, Blair.
Snowdrift.
Yeah, okay, whatever. I mean, he had some great qualifying efforts, which put him in the front of his heat races. But he needs to master the racing a little bit more. He faded, during the races, but I mean, great effort for him to lay down the fast times in qualifying.
He's got a quick car, but Coach, you probably watch this too. The one thing I noticed with him, especially on the starts, is when he comes in the corner, his car settles and his left rear comes down and he skates up the racetrack. And the guys like RTJ, they're keeping their stuff all loaded. Maybe it's something in his left foot, not trail braking. Maybe it's the shock package. But if they can fix that, I think he's got the speed. What do you think?
Yeah, for sure. He's got the equipment. He just needs more lap time with those guys. You know what I mean? Different cars. Things like that. So he's not afraid. I'm sure he'll be down there. He's down there all the time. He'll be East Bay, Volusia, all that. He knows where the gas pedal is. And I think he'll get some help down there from somebody for sure. And it's good. Like Bert said, great to see him up front and doing well, getting some good qualifying runs. And that late model stuff, Ryan and Bert, its track position is unbelievably huge in that sport right now. And anyway, you saw McCready's. The only reason why he won is basically because of track position. So that's huge right now. And every time they interview one of these guys, got to get better at qualifying. I got to get better at qualifying. The reason why Shepard struggled so much, he's been terrible in qualifying. You start behind these guys, 10th. You're not on a consistent basis going to pass Thornton, Davenport, Pierce, McCready, O'Neill. It's not going to happen. So, Snowdrift, he's got the qualifying done. Now we got to get the racing under control.
Yeah, we're going to call him the modern day Terry Casey, maybe is what we'll call him, right? He's kind of the same boat. So, number 2, you mentioned T-Mac, right? First Lucas Oil win since October 8th of 2022. Now, he did win one of them split feature races in the mix, but his first actual A main. So night number 2 at Alltech, you said he started up front. What a tale of 2 racetracks, right? Night 1, it was rubbered up in time trials. I mean, it was horribly bad. And they went out and they had an hour and a half intermission. The track was better, not great. Night number 2, didn't rain or nothing, way more moisture, a little character in the track, and guess what? Way better racing. Water saves lives. Track promoters, you want good racing? Water the racetrack. It helps, I promise. But on night number, we'll start with night number 1. So RTJ getting it done, Moran second, Rocket 1 third, kind of the usual suspects. 17th to 4th for Tyler Bruning. Hell of a run for Bruning there. And Jimmy Owens with a top 5 finish. Now, couple guys on night number 1 that in my eye were pretty quick. One of them was Garrett Albertson. He might have won that race. He was pretty quick up top and he fenced it. Boy, he needs a win, right? I mean, he's close. He was pretty sporty. And how about Joseph Joyner? He looked really good. How much of that do you think, though? Do you think Joyner went softer on tires, and that's why he was quick early and then faded? Your thoughts?
I thought that they said that all the drivers were on the same tire except for one. One had a 3, the other ones had 2s.
Was he part of that mix they were talking about?
I think so.
Okay. Yeah, he just faded. I mean, he was super fast and then he just fell apart. Kraus, night number 1, anything stick out to you? Bruning stuck out to me the most, but anything else stick out to you guys?
No, Bruning was really good on the bottom. He was he was really rolling on the bottom well. In that tire thing, Bert, I don't, maybe Joyner, RTJ, I don't know if he's sandbagging with these guys or he's saving his equipment. But even the next thing when he was, I can't remember who was catching him. Was it Miranda that was catching him? And then all of a sudden it was like, it was a straightaway within 2 laps. So I'm like, is he saving his equipment or what's going on here? Is it tire combinations or what? But, maybe Joyner was. I know they had to have left front, right front had to be 2s, and then they had the 2-3 option on the right rear. So I don't know, what those guys are putting on the right rear, if they're fading or what was going on there. But it's weird that I don't know if these long races, if guys are just better at saving their stuff. And some of these guys are like, hey, I'm running up front with these guys. Let's go. And all of a sudden, boom, 10 laps left, you wear your stuff off. So it's interesting to see the comers and the goers and who saves their stuff and who's really good at saving their tires and being fast the last 5 laps.
Yeah. Go ahead, Bert.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, this was night 1 and night 2. I mean, last week we had spent a lot of time discussing rivalry between RTJ and Superman. Right now, I don't think there's a rivalry because Superman's not fast enough for there to be a rivalry. I think he got lapped both nights at Alltech. So Superman's got some he's got some work to do to keep up to these guys.
You know who else has some work to do is Brandon Sheppard, right? I mean, over the last 4 races, his best finish was an 8th. He ran good at Volusia. He was pretty quick at Volusia. And East Bay is kind of a place where you can't ever count out Brandon Sheppard. But, boy, I tell you what, he just, like you said, he's not qualifying well. He's starting deep. He's getting buried. He's not moving through. He did, I think, maybe pass a bunch of cars there on night number 2. But he ain't been up to snuff. Night number 2, T-Mac, I mean, when he gets out front, he's a conserve mode guy. Dalton Wilson, he got second. Guys, he was in the conversation many times last year. I mean, are you really in the conversation with RTJ, Pierce, and Huddy? Maybe not, but he was at next level, right? He's right there. Do you think he can maybe sneak out a win before the end of Speed Weeks?
I think it's definitely possible. I mean, he's shown enough to me where, if everything falls into place, he can get a win. I mean, like we've stated, the key is qualifying well. So you start up front in your heat race and do well in your heat race, and you start up front in the feature.
Seems to be qualifying pretty well. The Reaper, Ryan Gustin, 15th, the 3rd, Bruning, back-to-back 4th place finishes. So he's showing some speed. Clay Harris with a 5th. Didn't even know he was in the top 5 when they interviewed him. RTJ, guys, on night number 2 was over a second a lap faster than T-Mac the final 2 laps before he drove into the fence. He won 2 of 4. He is clearly the faster car. Do you think RTJ wins that race if he doesn't step on his wiener there?
I thought he had something going south before that because he was catching those guys. He was up on the high side over in 1 and 2, floundering around up there, and his car was breaking loose coming out of the corner. I think he had something going on suspension wise or something there. He was coming, and he was coming fast. I'm like, oh boy, he's going to blow right by these guys again. Then all of a sudden he faded. So I don't know what happened, but he was definitely going to be in the mix. But I think something happened earlier when he started catching those guys because his car just wasn't the same after that.
So number 1 story of the week, brought to you by our friends at Fastlane Motorsports and Powder Coating in Ashland, Wisconsin, home of the Galloper chassis and proud sponsor of the number 1 series in all of Wissota racing, the Northland Superstock Series. They do custom fabricating, powder coating. They sell parts. They sell tires, safety equipment. They can fix anything. And you're not going to meet a better guy than Chris Redding and the crew over at Fastlane Motorsports and Powder Coating. That's in Ashland, Wisconsin. So, guys, was there a better way, right? I mean, it's the final year of East Bay, okay? And this was the final modified speed weeks. Now, Kraus, I know you watched the feature. Bert, did you watch the modified A-Main?
On Saturday night, I did.
Okay. What a race. I mean, it started out the beginning of the week at East Bay was not real good. And then it just progressively got better and better. And I'm telling you what, that was one for the ages right there. And what a way to end kind of a great run for modified speed weeks down there. Who wants to give a little recap what happened there? Go ahead, Bert. You got a local guy you can talk about a little bit.
Just Saturday night, or just general
just,
thoughts?
We'll just talk. Whatever.
Saturday night, Strickler led the majority of the race, but Cole Sarneski, who is from Eastern Wisconsin, 18 years old, and I actually interviewed him 2 years ago, and he was on the cover of Full Throttle magazine 2 years ago. He got his start in sport mods and IMCA stock cars, and now he's up into the regular mods, and they also have a late model also, so they got a lot of cars. At least they had a late model last year. I don't know if they still have it. He raced that one time last year at 141 Speedway with the Dirt Kings. But anyway, he's down. He was racing in Arizona for a lot of those shows in Arizona several weeks ago, and now he's down in Florida racing, and first time racing with the UMP late models, and he is definitely making Northeast Wisconsin proud. I mean, I think he had one win plus two other podium finishes, maybe three other podium finishes throughout the week. So definitely great representation by him.
Yeah, Sarneski had a DNF night one, and then he had a first, a third, a second, a fifth, and then a third in the championship night there. So I mean, and he battled. I mean, him and Strickler swapped the lead, and he led a bunch of laps through the middle of that race. Sharp looking car, very smooth. That kid is. I tell you what, he's gonna win some races. And then after he kind of faded just a little bit, not bad, he fell back to third, and here comes Lucas Lee. And I tell you what, it had to have been 10, 12 laps at the end where Lucas Lee on the bottom, Strickler carving the high side, and really didn't know who was going to win, but Lee was just a little too smooth on the bottom, and he capitalized. What a great race. Any thoughts there on East Bay, Kraus?
Oh, just a really good feature when it finished there with Strickler and Lee. And it basically came down to, like you said, Ryan, who's going to run the smoothest at the end. Because actually Lucas Lee bobbled. He hit that little hole and got tight in 3 and 4 and slid up. And then Strickler was getting that run over on the high side, but Strickler was getting that run coming out of 2. Lucas Lee was pretty smooth down there. So whoever could put together basically a back-to-back smooth lap was going to win that race. So it's really good to see. Great race. I was hoping Strickler was going to rip the side off his car again, like he did the previous 5 of the 6 nights, Bert, since you pick him all the time. I see you picked him again to win on Saturday. So
yeah,
we're going to be cheering against them. So just good to see, 2 good guys going at it. I'd like to see the rest of the field. I know, Ryan Gerke, local guy from here, got locked in the top 6, started 5th. And I don't know I didn't see it. I just saw kind of the results and the end of it. I know he
got into a guy.
Gotcha. I didn't see any of that. I just saw him he was back like 17th or 18th when I had picked up the race. So, but good to see him running down there with those guys and getting locked in those top 6. Just consistent. You know what I mean? He consistently, I was talking to you, Ryan, that he consistently got fast. The first few nights he was coming from deep, and then all of a sudden you start starting up there, and then you're going to finish higher. So good to see Ryan, local guy, Wissota guy, likes to travel. Good to see him do well and have overall have a good showing down there.
Yeah, he made every show. He made every feature. Bert?
And earlier in the week, you had sent me a text asking if Sarneski had a UMP motor in his car. I did send him a message, and yes, he does have a UMP motor in the car.
Yeah, he had a heater underneath there. Coach actually messaged him too. And Joe Thomas, he actually sold Gerke's best finish was a 5th, but he made every feature. Night number 1, Joe Thomas. I'm like, this kid's here to he's gonna be good. 9th to 2nd, night number 1, 15th to 7, night 2, and then it just went off the rails. I'm not sure if he had issues, something broke. He ended up not making the feature 3 out of the last 4 nights. But good to see him down there. Great learning experience. I mean, that's a whole different animal racing with a little different tire, different motor, and a different racetrack. So good to see them guys representing in good fun. I got to give a donkey award. I got to give one. Kevin Buzzy Adams, you're getting a donkey. All right. Buzzy is like if you think a Wissota racer that goes to East Bay every single year, it's Buzzy, right? And it's the final year of the Winter Nationals for the mods or for anything, right, at East Bay, and there's no Buzzy. And I'm like, what the hell, right? I talked to Blake. He's like, I tried talking him into it. He didn't want to go, too much to do. I'm like, you got to be down there, right? I mean, even if his car's not ready, Buzzy could have reached out to anybody and they would have been like, hell yeah, drive my car. We're good. Disappointed, right? Because, I mean, he's so fun to watch down there, and ending the run of races at East Bay without Buzzy in the house was kind of a disappointment for me. So, Buzzy, I love you, man, but I got to give you a donkey for that. So, let's jump into our 2024 weekly pick'ems. This segment, Kraus, brought to you by
elevate-visual.com. Video production. Make sure if you need any video production, drone work done, if you're a real estate agent, you need anything over here in the Minnesota area. He's actually traveling too. He's doing some stuff up in Fargo, anywhere in the area over here. Need any video production done, make sure you get a hold of Brandon at elevate-visual.com. And he also has a Facebook page.
Check them out. Thanks, Brandon. So, movers and shakers this past week, our reigning champ Curtis plus 11. He had a big week. Dan and Changa plus 10, nipping at their heels. Coach Kraus, you had plus 8. You had a good week. Myself plus 6. And then we had Kent, New Dan, and Brad plus 5. Good Jeff plus 3. And Bert plus 2. The only thing that saved you was Mike. Mike, I love you, man, but why would you pick JD at Speed Weeks? Even the year that he won $2 million, right? He sucked at Speed Weeks, right? So I don't know what it is, but he's just not good at Speed Weeks. But Mike had the goose egg, the golden goose egg for big old Mike. Current standings, our reigning champ back on top. Curtis at 51. Brad and Changa at 46. 71A here at 38. 1 spot ahead of the 29 star at 37. We got Bert at 35. Dan at 33. Kent at 32. Good Jeff at 28. New Dan. Kalina, put down the cocktails. Put down the adult beverages. And come on, get it together here, guy. 24. And Mike, you're at 11. So Mike's got a little work to do here. So we'll see if he can come around. And a look ahead to this week's events. We got 3 big weeks or 3 big events going on this weekend. But we're gonna talk first about Daytona 1 Performance Lubricants, right? So this is one of their many products, right? This is XL1 engine treatment. They call it horsepower in a bottle because on the dyno improves torque and horsepower, proven, right? Also, reduced friction, reduced engine noise, helps with cold weather startups. Fuel mileage in your daily vehicles. One of their many great products, Buck, the founder of Daytona 1 Performance Lubricant in the Hall of Fame for NASA. Lots of different stuff out there. They have stuff for engine builders. They have tire treatments. Their goal is anytime that you can reduce friction and make stuff last longer, it brings the amount of money that you have to spend on racing down. And that's what their goal is here. So check them out, Daytona 1 Performance Lubricants, and call Chad, 507-828-3536, and he can get you all the information you need. So, guys, the 3 big ones that we're picking, we'll save the best for last, but we'll go over to Volusia first, right? It's Gator Week, right? They start tonight. Not sure what's going on. Split features. They got the Gator Championship on Saturday. So UMP Modifieds down there, the high side tickler, Kyle Strickler, Krause's guy, won it in 2023. 113 cars entered down there. Big field of cars. Guy, they paid pretty good on Saturday. I think it's $7,000 to win, but I think most of the week's like $700 to win, right? $700 to win for UMP Mods to get 113 cars. I'll never understand how they get so many cars for so little pay. It just makes no sense. But that's going on at Volusia. And also at Volusia, joining the party on Wednesday, the World of Outlaw Sprint Cars racing Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Kind of a question is, how many high limit cars are going to be in the house? Are we expecting to see Kyle Larson? Are we expecting to see Brad Sweet? I've been looking online, haven't seen anything. Do you guys think that some of them high limit guys are going to show up? I know Rico's going to be there. Do you think most of their followers are going to be there, or do you think they're going to skip it? What do you guys think?
I think there'll probably be some there, but I don't think the majority of the drivers will be there.
Coach?
Yeah, it's going to be really, really interesting to see who's going to be there. Because I think if there's some of those guys not there, the high limit guys, I don't think they're going to race any of those races, the World Outlaw stuff. So it's going to be real interesting to see who shows up.
Absolutely. So both of those, right? I mean, all week long at Volusia, that's going to be on Dirt Vision. And then on Flow Racing, Lucas Oil, the final Winter Nationals. What is it? The 47th annual, I think, Risco Aluminum Winter Nationals down there at East Bay. Tonight, rained out. They're going to kind of unique how they're going to do it. So we're doing the show. It's Monday. Instead of racing tonight, they're going to run time trials. They're going to get Tuesday's show in and then do time trials for Monday's show. Wednesday, they're going to get the whole show in, then do the heats and B mains for Monday's show. And Thursday, they're going to get the whole show in and then do the A main. Guys, your thoughts on them adding that in and getting that Monday show in the way that they're doing it? Any thoughts on that?
I don't mind the way they're doing it. To me, since this is the last year for East Bay, I mean, you want to get as many shows in down there as you possibly can. And I think this way is probably a better way than running like two complete shows, one show during the afternoon and the other show at night. I think this is a better way to do it. And fans, they plan their vacations to go down there. So they're down there for the whole week. A lot of them are down there for the whole week anyway. So, I think it's a good deal the way they're doing it.
Coach, anything to add?
No, just be interesting to see how many backup cars are going to be pulled out. Those double headers, you just never know what happens with double headers. You just don't, you know what I mean? But like Bert said, it's great for the fans. It's great for everybody to get all the racing in as possible, and it's going to help me. And I don't have to change my bold prediction now, so that's kind of cool. But get a lot of racing, and hopefully they don't tear up some stuff. But you just, like you said, you just never know.
And this is, I mean, when I think Speed Weeks, I think East Bay. Well, what do you guys think? When you think late model Speed Weeks in Florida, I mean, what comes to mind? What's the future going to look like? Any reckless speculation on how Speed Weeks is going to look in 2025? Any guesses?
I don't know, but I mean, I agree with you. When I think of Speed Weeks in Florida, it's East Bay that is the first track that comes to mind for me. So I can't even venture to guess how they're going to structure it next year. If, I mean, they say this is the last year for East Bay, and you got to believe it. But I mean, unless there's a miracle like Ryan was hoping for last week, so we'll see.
Yeah, we shall see. It's going to be interesting. They said they should have things kind of ironed out. I can see them maybe not racing during the week. I can see them doing like a Thursday, Friday, Saturday at Golden Isles, then Thursday, Friday, Saturday at Ocala. Maybe add Screven in. Is there going to be new tracks in? It's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be it's a bummer, right? That place is disappearing. I mean, is it always the best racing? No, but is any track? And there's a lot of history at that place. But it's going to be a pretty cool event this weekend. So, Kraus, anything to add there on the upcoming events?
No, they're they got plenty of options down there. They're going to come up with something. It's always been East Bay Volusia. It's just the way it always has been. The mods are here. and it's kind of a good rotation. You got a little bit of everything down there, but they have plenty of options, and I would assume everybody's down there anyway. So let's just keep them down there. They'll find some dates and they'll figure it out. Maybe a 2, and maybe that's what they're thinking. They had the 2, then the day off, and then the 2 with Ocala, or wherever they're at. Maybe they're going to continue that, take a day off, and add some more tracks. Maybe, who knows?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. So stay tuned. I'm sure they'll have an announcement before too long. So let's jump into a blast to the past with SOTA of the 2000s, right? So in the 2000s, championship sprints faded off, right? Halfway through the decade. A new class was introduced to WISSOTA Racing, the WISSOTA Midwest Modifieds. But before we talk about that, a shout out to the folks at Dirt Track Supply in Watertown, South Dakota. Ron and Trevor Anderson, great ambassadors to the sport. Both had a lot of success on the racetrack. Their cars, the Aero chassis, they've had a lot of success. They sell parts. They service a lot of different racetracks, and just all around great people. So check them out, Dirt Track Supply over in Watertown, South Dakota. So guys, let's touch a little bit on the champions. We're not going to touch on all the classes this week. We'll just focus on these two. We'll touch on the sprints and the B mods. We'll just kind of split it up so we don't have an hour long just on this, right? But the sprint cars in 2000. Remember this name right here? Remember the driver? Name the driver there, Coach Kraus. B first. Or B1? I think it was B first.
Tony Norum.
Tony Norum, yep. He was your champion in 2000 in the sprint cars. I remember him coming up to Hibbing in a modified back in the 90s. In 01, Jimmy Kuba. In 02 and 03, Lauren Langrud got the championship. Dustin Lindquist in 04. And then in 2005, this driver has 4 overall WISSOTA national titles. He won the very first championship, sprint car championship, and is also known for winning the last WISSOTA championship sprint car title. Can you name the driver?
Can you tip us off? You got a number for us? Oh, one of the Swensons.
X. Yep, Chuck Swenson. So he won the first and the last, and had one other championship and won one in the late model as well. A guy that still turning laps. He had a vicious rollover here a couple of years ago at the 100. I told him you're a little too old to be rolling over like that, and his kid Blake a pretty good wheel as well. Midwest Modified Division, they got underway in 2001. Interesting rule, guys. When that class was first introduced, the rule for the Midwest Mod is they were not supposed to pay ever over $200. I think it was $200 or $250 max pay to the winner. Their mindset was modifieds were going to filter down. They're going to run used cars. Well, lo and behold, now you got tracks paying $5,000, $10,000, whatever, and the cost of these things has gone through the roof. So initially it was good, guys. I don't do this often, right? But when the Midwest mods were introduced, Hibbing was one of the last tracks in the area to have it, and this was an area where Bill Engelstad and I definitely agreed. Like, we had conversations about this. Yes, me and Billy had conversations, civil conversations, and we agreed that it was a horrible idea at the time to bring another class to WISSOTA, because all it did was take away from the mods, take away from the supers. Now it's turned into a good class. I mean, there's a lot of great drivers. It's the biggest class in WISSOTA, but man, it didn't really add any drivers. It just took the pie and cut it into another piece is all it did. And that's an area where me and Billy definitely agreed. So your first ever national champion was a driver that raced down at Deer Creek, down a couple other tracks down south, Jim Arnold. Coach Kraus, your second WISSOTA Midwest Mod National Champion. This gentleman, I knew him best for running in the super stock division, also ran in a modified, and lost his life either last year or the year before, way too young. You might have raced against this guy. Do you remember the name?
No, I don't. I'm thinking.
Number 7E.
Oh, Neil Eckert.
Neil Eckert, yep. So he was the second one. And then Dick Peterson, I believe he was number 54. He used to come up to Proctor. He won it in 03. And then the old cowboy in 2004, okay? Now, in 2004, This father-son duo became the first ever father-son combination that has won WISSOTA national titles in the history of WISSOTA racing. Who won the Midwest Mod title, Coach Kraus, in 2004?
Oh boy, I don't know. 2004? Was it Dick Peterson?
No, that was 2003. Father-son. When he won it, he became the first father-son duo to win a national title. And when we were talking about Arizona, you said, "Man, this guy here's one of the best WISSOTA Midwest Mod drivers ever."
So Travis Sauer?
Travis Sauer. Yep, Ron Sauer won the Mod 4 title in 03, and then Travis Sauer won the Midwest Mod in 04, and they became the first father-son combination to win national titles. Kind of cool. And then in 05, 06, and 08, the old Iron Man himself, Shane Sabraski, he got it done. In 07, Brockstar. And then in 09, this duo right here, Dad won in 1997 and 98, won the modified national title. This driver won the Midwest Mod title in 09 and went on to win a couple WISSOTA, at least one, I think two WISSOTA late model national titles as well. Kraus or Bert, you might have this guy. Dustin Strand. Yep. So second driver, him and his dad, Brian Strand, second duo to win father-son. So stories from the 2000s. So when you guys think the decade of the 2000s, when it comes to WISSOTA racing, to me, there's two huge stories that stick out. Either one of you have anything that comes to mind from the 2000s and WISSOTA racing?
Well, obviously, the first thing that comes to mind is Cedar Lake leaving WISSOTA. And then the whole DTRA and Goodyear tires and all of that took place. What was that, 2004, 2005, somewhere in there?
05, 06, 07. It was 06,
Okay.
07. Yep. And boy, I tell you what, that got interesting. So, for those of you that maybe weren't around then, right? Cedar Lake was, at least in that area, the mecca of WISSOTA racing, right? I mean, when I personally thought like WISSOTA late model guys, Cedar Lake was like the who's who. I mean, it was unbelievable, the talent. And I mean, it didn't matter if it was that or mods or supers. I mean, they had some hitters. And when you won, guys, when you won back in the 2000s, 90s and 2000s, when you won at Cedar Lake, you felt like you just won the Daytona 500, even on a regular night. Okay. I mean, that was the place to be. Now, in what would have been 05, the late model guys, right, decided, hey, let's do something different. And they wanted to just switch over, and they had a sponsorship deal come from Goodyear that if they run Goodyears, they were going to have a big sponsorship for the late models. And WISSOTA, the people running WISSOTA at the time and the people running at Cedar Lake started butting heads. And at the time, the president of WISSOTA said, over my dead body, if you're going to drop sanctioning from late models, you're dropping sanctioning from everything, and we're taking the WISSOTA 100 away from you. Cedar Lake said, well, I tell you what, you need us more than we need you. And for a couple of years, it was a little sketchy at Cedar, but it got strong again. And they decided to go their own way, and they brought a few tracks with them: Superior, Monster Hall, Grand Forks, right? Casson. So there was a few tracks that came with them, and they formed the DTRA, Dirt Track Racing Association, and they had a different points format, kind of a chase type deal, and it was all Goodyear tires. And boy, that upset the apple cart, right? Because then the WISSOTA 100 moved around, and that's never been the same. The WISSOTA 100 has never been the same as it's been at Cedar. No disrespect to Huron, I-94, or whatever. It just is what it is. Also a different era. But we talk about WISSOTA, right? Submitting bids, getting bids from American Racer. This right here, right? This right here was a huge change for the promoters, because there was a lot of tracks that we're looking at. Hey, this is working. We're going to jump ship. We're going to go Goodyear. And Hoosier met with the board and so on, and they come up with a deal that they gave every track at that time $1,500 per class that is sanctioned with SOTA on Hoosier tires, up to a max of 4, so you got $6,000. So Hoosier was started divvying money back to the racetracks to get them to stay. That is still here today. That never would have been a thing, right? If not for the DTRA. And, it was, but that was a huge era. Bert, you're spot on. I mean, that was a time where, and that's really been the whole demise of WISSOTA in the state of Wisconsin. There's only a couple tracks left over there. And boy, WISSOTA was so strong over there for so many years. And with Cedar Lake leaving, now they got Super Stocks back, right? They're having a Challenge Series show. They've had a Street Stock special. So there's hope that at least maybe a couple classes can come back. But any other thoughts there from the 2000s, either Coach Kraus or Bert?
Well, the 2000s was when Eastern Wisconsin left WISSOTA also.
Was that early 2000s when they left?
No, I think it might have been like 2007, 2008, maybe when Shawano left.
Yeah, I think you're right, because I remember being in a late model in 02 and 03, and all the Shawano guys would come to the 100. There was a whole bunch of them, and then after that, yeah. So, boy, things changed in the entire state of Wisconsin. The landscape of WISSOTA racing over there kind of just vanished in the 2000s, and it's never really it's never came back. So, kind of a bad deal. Kraus, when did Alexandria officially become a WISSOTA sanctioned racetrack?
2004 was the first year when we finally switched over. I think Madison might have been the actual same time too. I went from NASCAR over to WISSOTA. And I didn't really start traveling until 2009, 10, and 11, 12. I started hitting hard. But one thing with me was watching was like, yourself and Dave Moss, and how many guys put in 80, 90, 70, 80, 90 shows a summer. There was a lot of drivers that did that. I remember 2011, I finished 7th in national points. I had 15 wins and I think like 43 shows, and I got 7th. I think 15 wins today I would have been in the top couple, other than the 7A and the 78. But it's just crazy. I just remember seeing, hey, you open all the dirt back in the day, because a lot of times there wasn't stuff online yet, and you had to open all the dirt. And Ryan Hale's got 94 shows, or Moss has got 89 shows. So that was kind of one thing that I saw when I was young back then, just seeing, watching all these guys get all these shows in and racing 4 or 5 nights a week, and watching you traveling across the country or wherever it was. It's kind of my memories of that era.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that more when we get to the supers, but you could afford it then, right? I mean, I could literally leave Chisholm, drive to Wilmer. If I won the feature, I'd break even, because it's a 4.5, 5-hour drive. Now, if I were to leave Chisholm, drive to Wilmer, and then back to, say, Superior on a Friday, I could win the feature, and it would literally cost me, like I figured out, like $250, $300. And that's if I won and didn't hurt nothing, right? So the times have just changed, right? I mean, with the cost of everything, and it's not just tires or racing, it's everything, right? Fuel costs, grocery costs. I mean, everything has gone through the roof, and people just can't afford. Most people just cannot afford to travel like they used to. But man, there was a lot of racing. We'll talk more about that when we get to supers. So the last lap. XR guys making some more news, right? And I got a fan question in here. So they announced that they're going to have a $50,000 to win for 602 late models. And remember, back in November, December, they kind of put their schedule out for the XR Super Series. Initially, it was, hey, we're watering this down. It's going to be 6 shows. Well, now it's 16 shows, right? Remember, 2 years ago, right? They decided, hey, we're just going to run whenever the heck we want. It don't matter who we're running against. This is our deal. We're going to run. Last year, he made the announcement, hey, we're not going to run against Lucas and Wu. We're going to run in conjunction. We realize that don't work. Well, now they expand to 16 shows. They're running against Wu. They're running against Lucas. It's like, I don't know what he's got going on. It's his deal, right? But the question came, you look at some of these $100,000 to win shows. This came from Joe. And Joe said this. He goes, you look at these $100,000 to win shows for modifieds, for 604 lates, right? For stock cars. The biggest paying show this year for the XR that I've seen, right, that I've heard about, is 30 grand to win. Now, are the late model guys going to be a little offended by that they're racing for only 30 grand to win compared to 100? And then if you look from a fan's perspective, the cost getting in has been, and I get it, you got to cover the expenses, I get it, but now they're charging more to get in at some of these races than they did last year for 100 grand to win races. Your thoughts on this whole XR deal?
I'm actually not sure what to think about this. I mean, they're constantly changing. Like you said, I don't know, he's free to do what he wants, but I don't understand the rhyme or reason as to, we're only going to have 6 shows. Now we're going to have 16 shows. And I know when he started XR, he had posted something on Facebook to the effect of, that, other series weren't paying money and now he's paying money, and, which ultimately caused the other series to ante up a little bit too. So it is curious that his late model purses have gone, well, I shouldn't say purses, to win. I don't know what the total purse is.
Yeah, I mean, he's unapologetically himself, right? He's kind of got that, that FU money, right? I'm going to do whatever the hell I want. Don't care. It is what it is, right? I'm not going to ask for permission, forgiveness. I'm just going to do whatever I do. For example, their opener, right, at Ultimate Speedway in North Carolina, literally just a few weeks away, running head-to-head with a Lucas Oil doubleheader at Golden Isles. Ogilvy, everybody's excited. XR Super Series coming to Ogilvy for a doubleheader. Well, guess what? They're running against World of Outlaw late models, have a Pennsylvania swing that weekend. There's super late model guys, right, in Minnesota, Dustin Sorensen and Brent Larson, that they have some fans. They have an opportunity to race right at home, and they're going to schedule that event against a Pennsylvania. Kind of weird, right? Your thoughts on them scheduling against those events? And there are 16 shows, the top 10 counts for points, only 30 grand to win. Can we expect to see the same kind of car counts we saw last year? I mean, what's your thoughts on this? Pros?
No, you're not going to, but you also have to remember last year what he did with his purse. Do you remember the drivers were complaining about he had the 100 and the 50 and 10 for second place? He cut a lot of those down. He was paying down more. So I don't know if he's doing that. Is it going? I've been looking right now. Is it going 30, 20, 15? You know what I mean? I don't know. Is he paying much more?
No,
it's
not.
If you run it against that other
it's
series,
listed.
all you're doing is screwing the fans over there. So it's like you said, especially with people over here, and then all of a sudden you're going to look at it and I got to pay this much, and I don't even know who's going to be coming. Where last year, those guys were coming, they were committed to the series, and he was running off dates, kind of like the Flow Racing was. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. 12 most of the shows are 12,000 to win, and there's a few 30,000 sprinkled in there, and who knows? I don't see a points payout either. He had a pretty decent points payout last year too. So he's only been in the series game for 1 year at the Super Series. I think he's going to fine tune just to make sure he's not losing a bunch of money, which who knows, he could have done that at some of these shows. He's obviously a fairly smart guy. I don't think he's going to continue to lose thousands and thousands of dollars. So, but it's, who knows? It's tough. It's sad to see him competing against, Lucas and World Outlaw.
Yeah, I thought 2 series, World of Outlaw and Lucas, I thought that was too many, because personally as a fan, I love when they're all together. When I have all the good cars together, that is for the fan experience, that's the best. But guess what? He doesn't need our permission to do anything. He's going to do what he does. There ain't nobody else, I guess, really stepping up and kind of putting it out there. So, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I'll give him that, but interesting. It's interesting to say the least. Another thing, Busch Light Clash at the Coliseum. Brad's deal, NASCAR guy. What a debacle, right? First things they announced, it was going to be Heat Saturday, Feature Sunday. I was off a day last week. But they decide initially that Saturday night going to be fanless. We're not going to have fans in there on Saturday. And everybody went nuts. They're like, what the hell are you talking about? Well, then they're like, okay, well, we're going to let fans in for free on Saturday. And then you had some weirdos like, what do you mean you're going to let us in for free? Like, they're mad about that, which made no sense. Well, then the weather looked like it was going to come in. So they moved the whole thing to Saturday. Guys, I tell you what, I mean, it was empty. There was nobody there. I mean, they could not have made money at that deal. Could they have? I mean, maybe with the marketing money, TV, I don't know. But if they had to go off just fan attendance, that looked abysmal. Thoughts?
Well, I mean, obviously, if they made money, it was strictly because of the TV. Because yeah, like you said, I mean, there weren't a lot of fans there, and I mean, a lot of that is due because they moved the event from Sunday to Saturday. So I mean, people are, everything changed when that happened. I did hear that portions of California did get 4 inches of rain, so it was probably a wise decision that they did that. But even the fans that were there was like limited concessions and stuff. I mean, it was just it almost seemed like, them wanting to go fanless on Saturday for the heats originally. It just kind of makes you think that they're trying to save like on labor costs for concessions and stuff like that. But I mean, it's just like you're spending all this money to pave the Coliseum. You would think hiring some workers to work concessions would just be a drop in the bucket.
Is that deal done? Is it coming back there? Is it done? Is it going to go somewhere else?
I'm not sure, but was this the third year that was there?
At least a third.
I mean, those first couple years, the place was darn near packed, and that place can hold the people. And it was a big event. So I don't know, maybe NASCAR looked and said we didn't have a bunch of pre-sold tickets or something, and hey, let's move this up to one day, because they ran the Mexico race ran on Sunday. I don't know if you guys watched any of that. Suarez that was actually a decent race, and it was all drivers from down in that area racing. So I don't know. It's a tough deal. They used to make it a big hoopla. I mean, you had all the stars there. You had movie stars there. You had everything there. So, I don't know. Maybe it was the reason why Joey Logano went after Ty Gibbs, and to get a little something excitement going in the mix anyway. But I didn't see much of it. I watched a little bit of a race, but everything I've heard and seen, it didn't go real well.
No, and Hamlin won. They went to overtime. Hamlin won, and then Bert. Did you catch what Hamlin said in his victory lane deal or in his post-race speech?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, I just got done beating your favorite driver. he's not afraid to throw some shots out there. And they're talking about Kyle Larson, right? He's talking about Kyle Larson. Of course, Hamlin still owns a car Bubba drives for, right?
Yeah. Yeah, Larson's not happy with Bubba. I didn't see what happened, but
Larson dumped him. So in the closing laps, Bubba Wallace got in the back of him like 3 laps in a row, just bam, bam, in his bumper cars, his tight quarters, and then finally he shoved him up the track, and then Kyle Larson just flat out dumped him, spun him right around. He's like, well, I guess I'm over it, he said. I don't know if he's over it, but I'm over it. But yeah, I mean, any guesses? That race, of course, used to be the Bud Shootout, the Busch Clash. I mean, it used to be at Daytona. Now it's gone to California, to the Coliseum. Now, any guesses? Any guesses on where it might go next? Have you heard anything where it could go?
I haven't heard anything. And I think part of the problem is, I mean, we'll all admit the Daytona 500 is like NASCAR Super Bowl. I mean, that is the race of the year. That's the race any driver wants to win. And so, teams are really focusing on the Daytona 500, but yet you have this race on the other side of the country that you have to travel to. And, that might be another reason why, with the weather, it's like, well, we can't postpone it to Monday or Tuesday because the teams have to get back to the East Coast, down to Florida for the biggest race of the year. So I think the logistics, the being so far away from Daytona also plays a factor into that. If they could have a track closer to to Florida, I think that would be better. I mean, I understand why they go to California because it's, LA is the second largest market in the United States. So they're trying to gain new fans, and you got to give them credit for that. But it just creates other logistical problems with 500 only 2 weeks later.
Yeah, and they don't have the duels anymore, do they? That deal's gone too, isn't it?
No, they still have them.
They do still have the duels. Okay, they don't
Yeah.
mean nothing because everybody's locked in because of points
Oh,
and whatever.
Right.
But yeah, it's a totally different deal. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Let's jump into our final segment here, boys. 3 bold predictions. Had a few come off the board for each of us here this week. So accountability session first. Bert, you said the high side tickler Kyle Strickler would win at least 3 at East Bay. No, that did not happen.
You should have said what I told you to, Bert, that he'd DNF for 3, and then you would actually won.
That would have got her done. Yes. You said Superman Jonathan Davenport would have a better average finish than RTJ this week. Were you drunk last week? Just curious. Not okay. So
I was trying to go bold to make Jeff happy.
I didn't see any shot glasses there or nothing. And then you said Cole Sarneski would make the A main. Not only did he make the A main, he was hell of impressive. Finished 3rd on that final night, so you got that one correct. Coach Kraus, you said that JD and RTJ would have another bump up, and RTJ would one of them would end up resulting in a DNF. That did not happen. There was opportunities, right, where RTJ they were together, and neither one of them took a swipe at each other. You said 3 different chassis would finish in the top 3 on the final night at East Bay. That did not happen. There was, I think there was 2 elites. There's 2 elites is what there was. 2
elites and a Longhorn. Yeah.
RTJ, yep. And you said RTJ would win 3 of 4. That's kind of a tough one. You were close. You got 2. Maybe would have had 3 if he didn't hit the wall, but that was incorrect as well. So Good Jeff said kind of a similar one to you. JD would get even with RTJ and one of them would DNF. Also no. He said Rocket 1 would sweep at Alltech. They got 1, but not 2. And he said 2 of the mod nights at East Bay would rain out. That did not happen either. So no, and no for Good Jeff. So the peanut gal, this might be the bad beat. I'll let you guys decide how we're going to score this. I kind of know how I think we should. But Kenny had one. He said 2 local WISSOTA drivers would finish in the top 20 in the final night, A main, at East Bay. Ryan Gerke finished 17th. Michael Leach is an IMCA mod guy. I don't know that counts. He's a WISSOTA late model guy, a WISSOTA Midwest mod guy. He does not run WISSOTA mods. Joe Thomas was there. He did not make the show. Do we count Michael Leach as a WISSOTA guy? I'm going to say that, in my opinion, he's an IMCA mod guy.
If he races IMCA mods, he's an IMCA mod guy.
That's a bad beat because he's a WISSOTA guy and an IMCA guy, but when it comes to modifieds, he's an IMCA guy. Kenny, I don't. Kraus, any thoughts on that?
I don't know. That's a tough one. You know what I mean? I don't know. How many shows does he have in WISSOTA? Total.
In a late model or Midwest model?
In anything. You know what I mean?
He's ran about 3 years for sure in a Midwest mod, and I think last year and the end of the year before, I think he brought that late model out. And then last year he ran the late model. And he has been down in Florida, but he runs primarily IMCA mods. So
if he was full-time WISSOTA, that he was only in a WISSOTA car, I'd say yes. But, like you said, since he's done some other stuff before, plus I got to give Kenny a hard time for it too. So give me some fuel to give Kenny a hard time.
There you go. Sorry, Kenny. And then the 71A here, I had 3 different chassis in the top 5 in the mod feature, and that was the case. And this was a parlay, though. I had Lucas Lee and Kyle Strickler both on the podium, and that's not a gimme because Kyle Strickler doesn't like to finish races. So I did get that one correct, but I also said 50% of the late model races down there would be won by Longhorns, or by non-Longhorns, excuse me, and only 1 was won by Rocket 1. So 75% by Longhorns. I was incorrect there. So our current standings right now. So Bert, you got 7 correct, 13 wrong, and 35% closing rate there. I got 4 correct, 11 wrong, 26.7 correct on percentage. Coach Kraus, 2 correct only, 13 wrong, 13.3. Come on, guy. Come on. Good Jeff, 3 correct, 5 incorrect, 37.5%. In the peanut gallery as a whole, 2 correct, 4 incorrect, 33.3. So, Bert, you are leading the way with correct guesses here in 2024. You're at 7. I'm at 4. Good Jeff at 3, and Coach Kraus and the peanut gallery are both at 2. And then Good Jeff is leading the percentage correct. He's at 37.5, a narrow margin over Bert. Bert, you're at 35. You're almost leading both. So this week's predictions, we make 3 laps around the track. We're going to make racing, typically racing related, sometimes sports, but usually racing related predictions. It's got to be something that either did or did not happen. So I got a couple from the peanut gallery here. So we're going to go Coach Kraus, Bert, peanut gallery, then myself. Coach Kraus, what do you have for your first prediction?
First one, we're going World of Outlaw Sprint Cars with my boy Donnie Schatz. He's going to be on the podium 3 of 4 nights at Volusia this week.
Okay, Donnie Schatz, you said 3 of 4 on the podium.
That's right.
I hope so. I hope so.
This bold prediction should be like golf, low score wins. Because I'm bold. Bert's borderline. Ryan, I'll give it to you, but it should be like golf, like Dan wants in the pick'ems. Low score wins.
Yeah, you'd be winning right now. I mean, that could happen because Schatz he's won races down there. I mean, he's won races everywhere, but I mean, he come out swinging. Bert, your first one.
I have a question first. Is 2023 closed? As far as our bold predictions, we're not going back to see if we were right or wrong on some of them.
If he's our statistician is down in Florida, so if he missed one that's not on there, we'll come back to it.
Okay.
Did you have one in mind that?
Well, I'm just because I had said that Luxembourg Speedway won't
there
have
you go.
a promoter this summer, and it was just released over the weekend that Luxembourg Speedway in Luxembourg, Wisconsin, does have a promoter for the upcoming 2024 season. And not only that, they're switching to Friday nights. So
that one will come off the board when he gets back. He'll be able to kind of get caught up on that one as well. So that'll bring your percentage down just a little bit. So, all right, Bert, your first prediction.
I thought Kraus was going to steal my thunder here, but I'm also going with World of Outlaw Sprint Cars, and Carson Macedo will be on the podium 3 of the 4 nights.
Okay. So Good Jeff here, our statistician, down enjoying a little time with his better half in Florida. He said that Donnie Schatz is going to win at least one this week in Volusia. So Schatz is going to win at least one in Volusia.
That doesn't count. I'm going to text Good Jeff right now and tell him that doesn't count.
I'm about ready to say I don't think he'll even sniff the podium all weekend, but I mean, I don't know. I think that's pretty bold myself. Chris Peterson, he actually sent one in. They're talking about the big deal, kind of the year of the modified race. There's a few big ones coming up. Brandon Davis is going to win the big deal at the Mississippi Thunder Speedway. Brandon Davis is a hell of a race car driver, second in the USRA points, and he's won a lot of races. So Brandon Davis is going to win. Kent sent us one here as well, and he's going Volusia this week for the modifieds. The Herminator. Kenny Wallace going to finish top 10 in the Gator Championship Saturday night in the A main. So there's that one. And then we have Curtis. Curtis sent us 3 picks. No Kenny this week. He didn't get picks in on time or predictions in, but we got 3 from Curtis. And he said this: Brandon Shepard will win at least 2 A mains before March 1st. Could happen this week. He's good at East Bay. got to find some speed. You think he can win 2 guys before March 1st? Maybe if RTJ and Pierce stay home, possibly. Okay. I'm going to go with my first pick. And I'll go, you know what? I'll go down to the World of Outlaw Sprint Cars as well. I'm going to do a little parlay here. Kraus said he likes bold predictions. I'm going to go bold. Okay. Rico Abreu is going to win at least 2. And Donnie Schatz will have no more than 1 podium this week at Volusia. Just to go against your guys' right there. All right, Coach Kraus, back to you.
We're going to East Bay. We're going to go. There's going to be 5 different winners at the 6 events, the 6 features at East Bay. 5 different winners.
That would be cool. That would be cool. Bert?
I am also going to East Bay, and I'm going to say that Hudson O'Neal will have the highest average finish throughout the entire week.
That's going to be very similar to Good Jeff's pick here, and he's going to go with a little parlay action. So the combination of Ashton Winger, Hudson O'Neal, and Turbo, that combination will have a higher average finish over the whole week than RTJ, Brandon Shepard, and T-Mac. Curtis, his second one. At the end of the 2024 season, RTJ will be the dirt on dirt #1 late model driver in America to close out the 2024 season. Okay, my second one here. I'm going to go Volusia. I'm going to go Volusia in the mods. And I'm going to go with Dustin Sorensen, who's down there running a modified, a Longhorn for Craig Shaw. So he's going to run mods this week, and he's going to run late models the following week. Dustin Sorensen will have at least 2 podiums during the prelim part of the week. So that's Monday through Friday. He'll have at least 2 podiums, and he'll finish in the top 10 in the Gator Championship A-Main on Saturday night. All right, Coach Kraus, white flags out, final lap. What do you got?
We're going to Volusia. We're going to mods, and I've been watching it here tonight. And actually, someone just punted Leach. He was running about 3rd or 4th. Good race up front right now with Strickler and.
What features out there? What feature?
I think it's the last one. It's 6.
Okay.
One of the feature 3 was stacked. It had everybody in it. I can't remember who won it, but it's been pretty good racing so far tonight. But they're all up on the cushion right now. I've been watching, so I'm going to go out of the top 5. There's going to be 4 different chassis builders at Volusia in the mods, finishing in the top 5. I had to go bold. I was going to go 3, but you know what? We got to go a little bit bolder, Bert. So you taking notes on this now? So I went 4 out of 5 chassis builders, and I tell you what, looking at Ruman's really fast tonight. Stremmy's been fast. There's been Elites fast. There's been Longhorns fast. There might be a chance.
You could be onto something there. We'll find out. Bert, your second or your third pick here. What do you got?
You keep telling me to go bolder, but I keep getting them wrong.
Well, maybe that's the plan. Maybe that's the plan.
I guess after last week, this one may not be as bold as what it would have been otherwise, but I'm going to say also at Volusia, Cole Zarneski will finish in the top 10 in the Gator feature on Saturday.
Okay. All right. Good Jeff's third and final prediction. Though there's 4 nights of World of Outlaw sprint car action this week at Volusia. High limit regulars that are on the list in attendance will have a higher average finish than the World of Outlaw regulars over the week. Kind of interesting. So we're going to have to he's going to have to do some math. He's a statistician, so he's on it. We'll see how that works out. Jim gave me one, and he said he wanted to go really bold. He said he's kind of sick of Kraus whining all the time, so you want to go really bold. RTJ is going to win at least one at East Bay this week. I'm kidding. He said he goes. I had to say that and get that out there because I wanted to see his reaction. We got one. He sucked at East Bay last year, but the odds of him not winning one is not very good, right? So Curtis's final one here. We're going to talk late models here, okay? In the 2024 season, the Rocket as a whole, not counting the house car. So this excludes Hudson O'Neal. But between all the World of Outlaw A-mains and all the Lucas Oil A-mains, Rocket Chassis will have no more than 5 A-mains wind all year long in World of Outlaw and Lucas Oil. That's bold. That's bold. And I'm going to go my third and final pick here. Stu. I'm going to go with a parlay. You know what? I'm going to go World of Outlaw Sprint Cars here. The World of Outlaw Sprint Car Championship is going to end exactly in this order. David Gravel, Carson Macedo, Logan Schuchart. That will be your top 3 specifically in that order in the championship points for 2024. So we'll push that one out a bit. So there it is. Episode, what is that? 211 in the book. A lot of racing this week. Looking forward to seeing East Bay, Volusia. Bert, what do you got?
I have a couple of things. It was announced on Facebook that Eastern Wisconsin will have a new late model driver. Kyle Frederick, who has raced IMCA stock cars, posted that he will be racing a late model on a limited basis this year. He said he had an opportunity that a car owner wanted to field a late model, and he was given the opportunity to drive it, and he said it was too good to pass up. So he's going to be racing a late model at some shows. He's still going to race IMCA stock car also, so he'll be doing double duty when he races the late model. And then the other thing is, I just got to give a shout out to Jason Fager for winning down in New Zealand. Beat Bobby Pierce, so Bobby Pierce can't win them all. And that track down there seats 15,000 people. I went to their website and it seats 15,000 people.
And it looked like there was 14,500 there. It was full. There had to have been double the people there than was at the Busch Light Clash, right? I mean, there's way more people there. And you know what else I noticed at that deal down in New Zealand? The energy, right? I mean, they were hooting and hollering and cheering and screaming. That's kind of missing here stateside. We don't quite have that environment as much as we used to. So that was good to see down under. So with that said, that's 211 in the books, guys. Fun to talk some racing. A lot to catch up on here this week. We'll keep everybody in the loop, and if anybody has bold predictions, send them our way. You know, we'll get you on the list, and put down in the comments below any comments you have. Just start hammering, punch them buttons down there. Let us know what you think, and thanks for tuning in. As always, I'm Ryan. That is Coach Kraus. That's Bert Lehman. Thanks for tuning in to the One to Go Show.